It is the Friday night in association with Erdinger. We are in Nova Scotia. We're going to do this in 2 parts. We always do it in 2 parts, but talk about different things because there's no Liverpool game this weekend. Part 1, we're going to talk about the Swiss system in the Champions League next season. I'll explain why in a minute. Then we're going to take a bit of a break. Then part 2, we're going to talk about the fact that Jurgen Klopp's boss, and he's boss again, but he's boss full stop. I've got with me Phil Blundell, Damian Kavanagh, and Kev Walsh, who is infamously well known for it. Delighted with that one. I sat there. I saw it straight away. Can do that as well, please.
Like a game show.
Oh yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Absolutely marvellous stuff. So we, me and Phil did a show this week on our subscription platform. It was the gutter, but it became a chat about next season.
This time really next good, season, that by the way, really good.
We're going to try and do it again a little bit now because people aren't quite aware as to how the Champions League's going to work next season. So this time there we go. So this time next season, Phil, one of the things to point out is whilst there's no game this week, around this time next season, Liverpool will have 2 Champions League games. They play 8 Champions League games in the group stages next season. So in January there will be 2 Champions League games. That's thing 1, isn't it?
Yeah, that is thing 1.
So that's thing 1. So there's 8 group stage games, okay? I'm looking at you because you're going to come with me, Damian.
Okay.
So there's 8 group stage games.
How we get Ajax?
There's only 1 group.
Right.
Okay, so it's called the Swiss system. So there's 36 teams in the group.
It is a literal league now.
It is a league,
The name isn't a bastardisation now.
Yeah.
It is actually a league.
There's a 36-team division.
A 36-team division, all right? Yeah. So you maybe even get like little captions on this. So there's a 36-team division.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam's just rolled his eyes at me like, absolutely not.
Yeah. It's a Friday night, lads. Come on.
Because I'll have to watch this back to get it in the head.
It's tough enough to turn this around into the hours. So there's 36 teams.
Yeah.
Every team, so there's every team is in a pot. There's pot 1, pot 2, pot 3 and pot 4.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's like the seedings. But the champions aren't seeded, are they, Phil? It's all done on coefficients.
It's all everything. The way that the pot 1 now is 8 champions and Europa League winners and winners. It's just the best 8, the best 9. No.
So now there's no point winning the Champions League.
Well, I mean, no, not anymore. Well, it's all about
you say that.
I'm being facetious.
So you've got.
I think this deserves it, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, you'll see. Because we're going to see where you feel at the end. I like that you don't like it because I want to see what you think of it at the end in comparison to the way it is now. All right.
Yeah.
So there's a really good interview today in the Athletic. By the way, the Rafa Honigstein and the fellow who runs Dortmund, and he's talking about this. That's why it's in my head. So you've got pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, pot 4. Mm-hmm. Liverpool will play whatever pot Liverpool are in. Will we probably be in pot 1 if we qualify?
We'll be in pot 1 if we qualify.
We'll be in pot 1 if we qualify. But we will play 2 teams from each pot. So we play 8 games against 8 different teams. 1 home, 1 away in each pot. So in pot 1 will be Bayern Munich, Liverpool, Man City. You get country protection in the group stages. Liverpool, Man City, Bayern Munich, let's say. Who else will be nailed on? Real Madrid will be nailed on. PSG. So Liverpool will play 2 of Bayern Munich, Barcelona. Maybe not Barcelona, but anyway, take me points. They'll play 2 of those from pot 1. Then there'll be the pot 2 teams, and Liverpool will play 2 of them, which will be the next rung down, your Portos, so on and so forth. 8 of them, Liverpool will play 2 of them. 1 home, 1 away. Then the next pot down, Liverpool will play 2 of them. 1 home, 1 away. Okay. And then the bottom pot,
how many do you play in the bottom pot?
2. It's going to be 1 home and 1 away. Thank you, Ken.
So there is a logic to this.
So you get 4 homes and 4 aways,
and
it's spread, and that's who you play, but everyone's all in 1 league.
Okay.
You with that?
Yeah.
What do you think of that at this point?
I think it's overcomplicating it. I think it makes loads of sense financially.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's happening.
But you get 4 aways, and you get this. I think it's partially happening because of the finance.
I can get it.
Sorry, I was just going to ask Cav. Do you already think, just like forget like our natural cynicism because I'm as cynical as you. Just the way you've said it there, and even just the teams you named in pot 1, you go. You know what I mean? There's a little Anfield against Bayern Munich, and then in September.
How often do you play Bayern Munich?
That's what I mean. Yeah. So you country protection. So theoretically, you could have 4 English teams in pot 1.
Yeah, in theory. Yeah.
I think
maybe even 5.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't a throwaway comment, mate, but it was just dead off the cuff what you just said there. It's now actually a league.
Yeah, it is.
Instead of it's got a league element to it.
Yeah.
And of course it can't be a league because it wouldn't have the excitement that a league has, and wouldn't have the viewing figures. Who's going to watch a mid-table? No one's getting relegated or whatever have you. So it's kind of got this league element built into the cup thing,
Well,
So there's a logic here.
Wait, you know what Neil's going to tell you now.
I'm going to come on to the next phase, how it works
yeah.
next. So that's what you've got all that, and that you've got those games, and you've got the idea of Liverpool against Bayern Munich at Anfield in September.
That's September to January, sort of.
That's when those games will take place. All those same slots, and then 2 more in January. But the next phase of this is all right. How do we decide what happens next?
Who's going through? So all the Newcastle and Man United fans can forget the next bit.
They're not for them. Not for them.
Right.
So you've got
who's going through. Yeah.
This year, it's worth saying, by the way, City's group this year was Leipzig, Young Boys, and Red Star Belgrade.
Have you seen their FA Cup and League Cup draws?
Well, exactly. They're playing affordables is a lot of the time. So that's who City had this year. So next year, you can guarantee City, Liverpool, because we'll be in it. I mean, we're being very confident here, but we'll be in it. Yeah, we'll play we'll definitely have 2 games against big hitters. And that's one of the reasons why they want it, because the argument is at the minute, there's not enough games early in this tournament that are between the big teams, because they've all carved it up for themselves for so long. We need to find a way to make them play each other. That's the truth of it, and that's what's going on. But the next phase of this is, what happens for City is they win the first 4, and they've got 2 dead rubbers at the end. That changes. So the way this now works is, the sides that finish from 1st to 8th are automatically in the last 16. Okay? The sides that finish from 25th to 36th drop into the Europa.
No, they're out completely.
They're out completely now.
Sorry, Phil.
Hang on, the first 8 are through.
To the last 16.
Yeah.
The bottom 11 are out. Are they of Europe completely? Is that the case?
Yeah, they're out of Europe completely. Yeah.
So they're out of Europe completely. No Europa League dropping. Okay.
Can't be the top 8 and the bottom 11 because that'd be 19.
Not finished yet.
Sorry.
Yeah. Then you've got the teams. That's
what I'm saying. It's got to be even numbers, hasn't it?
In the league.
Yeah, but
25th to 36th.
No, so there's got to be 18.
You've got a team, an extra team from somewhere.
Okay, I'll stop that in a minute.
It's 16, 8, and
8. I think it'll be 8.
12 11. Sorry, bottom 12 go out. Okay, sorry about that.
You've done 36 minus 25 and forgot it's inclusive.
Of course. So bottom 12 go out. Top 8 automatically into the last 16. Then the team that comes 9th plays the team that comes 24th.
Yeah.
In a 2-legged playoff to get to the last 16 of the Champions League. The team that comes 10th plays 23rd, 11th 22nd, 12th 21st, and on we go until we get 16 versus 17 or 15. 16 versus 17 is what it'd be in there as well. So they play each other a 2-legged affair to get through. Yeah. So that comes through after the 8 games are finished. Then that happens, and that's how you find out who's in the last 16.
When are those games taking place?
In February. So that's when you get your last 16 of the Champions League. Is that it comes, you only know it then. And then what happens, Phil, you'll explain this next one.
So the way we have last 16, last 8 semi-final draws now, don't have draws anymore. It's all in a sort of World Cup style grid where 1 and 2 are on opposite sides and it's mapped out who you play all the way to the final.
You've been watching the darts, haven't you?
Yeah.
There's an element to the darts and an element to the tennis. So you now get this situation where when they get through, so let's say, hypothetically, if 24th beats 9th over 2 legs, then they're through and they're the bottom seed. They play number 1, who came number 1 in the group stages. So what that means is there's no dead... Well, there might be a few dead rubbers for some teams on game 8 and they go back to the group stage.
It's also going to be in a really specific circumstance because the idea... Because people see it, I think a lot of people have seen this as a league system whereby you get to the end of the league system, at the end of a league season, and teams are really spread out. Well, they're not going to be spread out just by virtue of the fact that they're playing 8 games and not 17.
And they're playing against teams of the same quality. So when you get to game 7 and game 8, the ones in January, almost no one will be through on game 7 and only a few teams will be through on game 8. But even if you can't come 8th, but you can come the difference between if you win, you're 19th and you can leap to 11th. Well, that's in your interest because you'll then be playing a side who are in the
second leg at home if you're that way.
And you get the second leg at home.
This is the first time I've ever heard the Champions League explained where it deserves the title of Champions League.
It's got the league element.
You ever thought of selling cars on anything?
Well,
you know, Disco sits up.
I mean, he's selling something here.
If, when.
No, but seriously, you can, if you're passionate about something or if you're good at explaining something, and I think you're the latter, not necessarily the former. I'm not saying you're ruling it out. You know
I'm not sure. I think Neil's got a bit.
I can see what you're saying because I don't usually watch the group matches of the World Cup because I know who's going through.
Yeah.
And I'll start watching it when you get to the knockout stage.
Same with the Champions League.
Yeah.
This year I didn't watch a Champions League group game, partially because I had a face on because we win, innit?
Yeah.
And I'm a bit like, there's no show without punch. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
the game was just very unappetising, I think.
So I think the double-edged sword of this is that's a league and it's got a lot of merit in it and whatever have you. But all it's going to do, as ever, with these things is the 8 most powerful clubs in Europe, or the teams from the most powerful countries in Europe, or wherever it is, are going to gravitate themselves to there. They're going to be, so I get it.
I actually think it's a bit more of a meritocracy.
Because of the playing each other, it
yeah.
makes that a little bit more difficult. Like, for example, there could be one of these 9 teams who loses 2 games.
Yeah.
And then if you lose, suddenly you lose one of the second pot teams, which, you know, if we went away to Dortmund, for example, and lost, it's not a shock, really, is it? Like, we'd obviously expect Liverpool to go over there and win and whatnot, but if Dortmund win 2-1 at home to Liverpool, and Liverpool have then lost 1-0 at home to Bayern Munich and 2-0 away at Real Madrid, Liverpool's task is suddenly difficult, and it sort of compacts things a bit, and they've then got to be perfect in the rest of the games.
You've got to be much more careful, haven't you, as well, in the fact that, like you say, if you're the top seed in a group and you're playing the second seed away, as long as you win all your own games and beat the other 2 teams who aren't any good, you could rotate and throw the other game. You know, like, there's
a long-term benefit as well, to the coefficients, because if that does happen to you a couple of years in a row, your coefficient is dropping and dropping and dropping, isn't it? So it keeps people sharp, on it. Yeah. But the other issue with that may well be then that the top teams say, well, now we have got to be all in on this and just destroy everybody else. So like, I think what they're trying to do is maybe level the playing field a little bit, but potentially you could end up with the top teams just going, right, that's it, another squad for the Champions League, and we'll just blather that Champions League every year.
There's a shout out here for the so we love watching. We watch Liverpool nearly every day of the week. So there's an extra home game at least for the fans, an extra expense at premium prices, and the players are already playing too many games.
Agree with you.
And so something's got to give here. Yeah. And we are, so I pay probably an average of £38 a match to watch Liverpool, and I also get to stand up with a boss gang of lads. Who I wasn't mates with before, but I don't have to enjoy the company and that, you know what I mean? In an iconic stadium, and we are so lucky in so many ways, and the team's so lucky to have us, and the club's so lucky to have us. But it's still a drive to get a bit more money out of you, and that, you know what I mean? So there's going to be an extra 30, so even if it's only 30, so some of my mates pay us 60 quid to watch the big cup, right?
Mine's 57, I think.
Okay, so mine will be 38. Right, then you bevy at half time. That's all right, you don't have to. It's a social life.
It's what you've been used to doing, it's what you're used to doing.
Do what you want. Do what you want.
So they're making that much fucking money. You could subsidise that by equalising the cost over it.
There is an argument.
There's a big argument there.
There is an argument someone should be going on. Just make it from my one. Knock it down from 57 to 40. Still get the same amount of money.
There's no question about it, but also the players as well now. So you've got international players, because they're all going to be at the top end. They're going to be of international standard. So when we all have the international break off, they don't. They play two more. They're captains of their teams. They are the players who you can't take off in those crucial matches. So something's got to give. So what I don't get me. We're in a privileged position supporting Liverpool, and Liverpool are in a privileged position to have our support to be able to aim for the heights of that. But this is going to have a detrimental effect on the domestic game for the non-elite clubs. We are an elite. We are a worldwide club.
I agree.
And there's only a few of those, and we are one of them. And we live next door to someone who isn't. Right. And they would legit, and if they had their chance, they would give their eye teeth to be us, right? But given that they're not, they'll resent the fact that they haven't got our opportunity. And we would be the same if they're also reversed. And so I think we're talking about the League Cup getting burnt out, the FA Cup getting burnt out.
Well, the League Cup's going to go, so the FA Cup will lose the replays almost certainly next season. And
Phil, you're going to have a lot of work on Twitter,
and the League Cup will, the semi-final will go to one leg.
That's overdue.
Exactly, and some of these changes aren't necessarily bad, and I think when this one's lived, at least in terms of this competition, people will get into it. And also you need a big squad. We're going to talk about Jurgen Klopp's big squad in a minute or two with Erdinger in Nova Scotia. I'm going to have to get this topped up, you know.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
Erdinger, Nova Scotia, very, very good indeed. Still got Damian, still got Kev, still got Phil. And we'll start off with...
Hang on, how many games do you play in the Champions League?
Oh, you can't believe it. Millions.
19 if you get the final.
It is Damian with this manager now. There's a really good piece in The Athletic today written by James Pearce and Andy. I can't quite remember the surname. Andy Jones, marvellous stuff. Thank you very much. Sorry, Andy. About what the manager's done in the last 12 months. It's about 12 months ago, we were playing Brighton, we were playing Wolves, then we were playing Brighton, then we were playing Wolves, then we were playing Chelsea, then we were playing Brighton, then we were playing Wolves. It was about 12 months ago, and I think it's amongst the worst 6 weeks of our lives, if we're all honest. It's certainly amongst the worst 6 weeks of the managers. And the turnaround in 12 months, in him, in them, in us, in the whole thing, is phenomenal, and he deserves the credit first and foremost.
No question, we are blessed. The planets aligned when Jurgen Klopp was appointed as Liverpool's manager. He was quite clearly the most popular manager with everybody in this country while he was at Dortmund. And the silence was deafening when we got him. Because everyone knew that they would have taken him. And usually when the manager comes, you say, he's a big head in, or he's this, or he's that, he's a checkbook manager, or he's obnoxious. And everyone just went, I'd love to have a pint with him. I'd love to watch the teams that he has. I'd love the way he does it. I love the way he's gone against Bayern, Munich, and all those things. There's the first thing. He's been perfect. He's been the manager of literally the greatest teams we've ever had.
Yeah.
That is some statement.
It is a massive
statement. It really
statement.
is, and I think, and that's not to diminish the greatest teams in the world that we did have. The game evolves and he evolves with it, and so there's that. The greatest thing about him it's not just about himself. It's about the way. It's not just the motivation. He's got to be tactically astute. You can't just be tactically astute. You've got to motivate people. You've got to make people the best of them, the very best of themselves.
That's the one for me.
Oh, completely. And working in fact that it's kind of sort of like you've got a choice between 3 top left wingers, and you end up with one of them, and you know that whichever one of the 3 he gets, it's going to end up being the best out of the 3.
On the day, because today, Adam Mealy was saying exactly the same thing.
Nice.
Someone said on the show, he was saying, do you think it is the system? Because we were talking about managers having the veto over like who gets to buy, or like a communal thing. And he said, like, obviously Julian Brandt was the one before we got Salah. And he was saying,
oh, why, yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. So that's it, but the manager wanted him. And Adam made the point that I think it's not irrelevant, but it's got less to do with it than people think, the player's natural talent. It's a lot to do with how Jurgen Klopp squeezes every last bit out of the person, while also making the person feel 10 times the normal size.
You want the best for them.
Yeah, but
it's his own natural generosity.
That's the modern day Shanklyism in him. That's the thing.
And it's
where,
genuine.
The players
that's
feel 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't sign a player who hasn't got the ability to get to there. Yeah. You have to sign a player who's in that bracket. But as long as he gets a player who's in that bracket, he's going to end up making the best out of them.
Yes, well that's it. Just because they've got the ability doesn't necessarily say they make it to that level, does it? Yeah. Whereas Mo Salah, unbelievable as he is now, and everyone would say, well, he'd always do that. Maybe not necessarily true if he hasn't signed for Jurgen Klopp. And
well, I think the Salah thing's a great point, by the way, is the fact that he cops it himself, that he wasn't necessarily convinced. Now, if he was an egotist, he would be, Mo Salah all day, and he wouldn't be questioned.
We've had a manager who would have claimed that he'd done it.
There's no doubt about it. He would end up with a painting of himself in his own house, wouldn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Teaching Mo's rubbing him on the head.
You know what I mean? So that has happened.
Great technician.
But it's not just that. So there's all that about the tactical side of it, his politics side of it, the way he loves the romantic side of the way he plays football, the whole thing, the way he came from Dortmund, who were challenging Bayern, to watching Liverpool, who were challenging the financial giant. Liverpool are the financial giants, but there's places we can't go financially. But he's like, well, you can still only get 11 on the pitch at one time, and I'll make sure my lads are on point about that. But what he also does is, and I think, what's really impressed me as much with Jurgen as ever is, at the end of last season, I'm quite upbeat and optimistic and on the front foot and concentrating on the pluses myself and whatever. But he came off the blocks with his energy pre-season, and I fell off a cliff a bit. I was a bit grumpy, you know what I mean? I was all in after what had happened in Paris, after the run of games, after everything. God, did we need a leader who came in with so much enthusiasm, who came in like it was his first day in the job, and he really lifted us.
It's got to sound a bit mad. but it felt like getting a new manager. In
Yeah,
terms
oh,
of the
yeah.
energy that came in. And
I was-
when a new manager comes in, you're like, oh, okay.
But
You kick off.
You get a
with
double bounce as
and
well because the fear of losing him
Exactly.
was like, oh my God, I don't ever want to watch football again, let alone Liverpool.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but
And it's
another thing that he's done is, when you get special people like that, and he is a special person, never met the fella.
I'm sure he thinks the same about you though watching this.
Well, yeah, he's never met me either. Right. So, people like that usually accumulate good people with them.
Yeah.
Right. Not because they're head workers, because people gravitate towards nice people. I don't care how reserved they are. You end up with people you enjoy being with.
Thanks, Kav.
And, you know, and you enjoy being with people who are like-minded, who want the same goals. So he's quite prepared to take responsibility, quite prepared to make the decisions, and he's quite prepared to give praise within the camp if it's due elsewhere. Mo Salah being an unbelievably brilliant example. But the other thing was, I was euphoric after that Arsenal result, and we were going to conquer the world, and then Trent gets injured. And in the press conference, Pep Linders comes out the box, and I felt 10 feet tall again, because he's working in the same kind of company. So it's not just he's creating a culture, and I think the biggest compliment you could ever give Jurgen would be, I think he would consider his biggest success is if the fellow who succeeded him is successful. I think he's got that in him, and I think that everything else comes in behind it because he's creating a culture, he's creating a dynasty.
I think that's part of the reason why he had to sort of go again last summer in the way he did, isn't it? Like this time last year, it was miserable, wasn't it? I remember coming home from that Brighton game and it was like, this is a long way home on a Saturday night when we got beat 3-0 and just everything was frankly miserable.
We got off early.
We were bad.
We got off early. I know people do get off early, but we got off early.
You lose 3-0. You lose 3-0 and you went, yeah, fair enough that. We haven't lost by more than one goal since April now.
Yeah.
And this was just happening as a regular thing that we were doing stuff like that. It's terrible.
On what he's done, when you think about from the summer onwards, I think some of it is in the big nine at the back end of last season.
I can't believe you still mentioned the bit.
The streets are still so
I was all in.
The streets
won't
We're
forget
all
about the
away.
big nine.
Don't forget about the big nine.
Listen, the big nine was proven to be absolutely abundantly correct.
It's right. I mean, all the way through, I was
If
actually.
we'd have won all nine, we would actually have come top four.
It's not so much about that though. It was about what the big nine meant and what it signified and what it meant to all
Come
of
on,
us.
Phil, you don't understand.
No, I know.
The big nine's more of a spiritual thing than it is an actual.
It wasn't literal.
It is as part of it though, Phil. What I think he does is he because he believes in people, because he believes in who he surrounds himself with, because of the character points, he's created so much space for a set of characters. So I think, for instance, that Arsenal game is like it's a Trent Alexander-Arnold rising to the occasion in a way, and the manager's just backed him to do that. And I think you're getting to see it amongst so many, not even the ones who've ended up with an armband or in a leadership group. Curtis Jones isn't in a leadership group, but it feels like Curtis Jones, there's been space, and the manager's gone, come on, you fill it. And for me, that's one of his unbelievable plus points, is he sees where a character's needed, where a person can become better. Not even that he believes in the best version of people, but how he can create the space for them to grow into the space that's there. And for me, that's what he's done brilliantly here.
He's bold, isn't he? I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
He's bold, he's brave, he's willing to make decisions that other people wouldn't do, and that's what makes him what he is. There's a lot of people who would be sort of semi-cautious and go, oh, I'm not sure about that, and he'll go, no, he'll do it, because he can do that, and he's fine. His judgment is a massive part of this, isn't it? His ability to know when someone is capable of something and when they can do this and when they can do that and what you can get out of them to get the exact thing. There's, Dave Brailsford's gone to Manchester United and his big thing has been, marginal gains, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a marginal gain in this manager because he's getting...
Best of luck, Sandra, for United marginally because they are shite.
You think doing it with
It's a wide margin.
You are doing it with marginal
Tell
gains,
you what,
right?
they won't be improving
Just
soon.
gains.
Yeah,
Just some gains.
But what he's done is he's getting 1, 2, 3% more out of players that a really good manager than a really good manager would, and that's what sets him apart. Like, you look at this, like, we're on 30 goals this season, I think it is, scored or assisted by substitutes.
It's insane.
It's an insane number. It's an insane, given that most substitutions happen in the last sort of 30 minutes of a game of football. You think about that. Like, if you were sort of
You've got
extrapolate that at a
less
normal
time to
rate,
score a goal than
that's
anybody
90
else.
goals. You'd be on like if it was the same in the other 30-minute windows.
But this is where, for me, this is part of him backing himself and backing them and backing the moment and backing the character. This game's not necessarily going the way I'd like. All right, you and you, come here. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be different. And then it is. And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, Kev. But that's what he's done brilliantly.
Yeah, well, and also, it's not just, this is what we're going to do and it's going to work. It's like, you're going to do this. You're coming on now and you're going to do this. And imagine if the manager says to you that you're going to jump off this building, you're going to fly. I swear to God, I reckon I could do it, you know. Honestly. So
I reckon you would do it.
I would as well. If the manager told me to, I would. If you're telling Javier to come on and you're giving him, listen, I've spotted this and this is what we're doing, and here's what you're going to do in there. Javier already believes that he's absolutely fantastic at football by virtue of the fact that he is absolutely fantastic at football. But then he's got the greatest manager in the whole world with the arm around the shoulder saying to him, Harvey, this is what you're going to come on and do now. So when he walks on the pitch, it's not, oh, I hope I do this, can't wait to do this. Do you know what I mean? So the 30, it's unbelievable. That 30 goals or assists from substitutes comes as much from the tactical side of it. And don't get me wrong, that's obviously vital. It's all well and good getting someone to believe, but then you send him on, he's got his boots on the wrong feet, it's not going to happen, is it? But spotting that, and then having the ability to just imbibe them with, not only is this a possibility, this is what's going to happen. I know it, you know it, and they know it. Just go on there and do it. You walk on the pitch, like the old Shankly thing of, he'd walk in and say, oh, just seen there, Bobby Charlton, walking like an arm man, you know what I mean? He's got a cast on his leg or something there, do you know what I mean? And our players like, we want to smash this here. Yeah. And it's exactly the same thing, and that's why the substitutions are so successful.
I think that comes into, if you go back to the Shankly thing, was he inherited the backroom staff and he gave them a chance.
Yes.
Allowed
the most underrated thing.
Yeah.
Right. So they were average or underachievers to the size of the club, and he gave them all a chance. So he does that, Jürgen, but he also does, and I might be wrong here, so, and I don't mind being corrected. So Divock comes to Liverpool, big reputation, shows a few things, goes out on loan.
Yeah, he went to Wolfsburg.
Now, you send young kids on loan to get some experience, and then they come back and they've had some experience. It's better than playing in the reserves, and they come back. But usually, if you've had your chance and you go on loan, that's the end of you. Yeah. Jürgen didn't do that with him. We're going to have some fun with this player. So he sent him out on loan. Now, it doesn't happen, obviously, getting a technically established in the squad player who hasn't quite done it. Sends him out on loan, and everyone thinks that's the end. Brings him back.
From an unsuccessful loan as well, if it wasn't
a great loan, but also the interesting thing with Origi, the most interesting thing with Origi is, I think that Everton goal in December, I think that was his first appearance of the season, if I remember correctly.
I think it was. But
when you think about the journey he went on after that,
what it shows is, if you've got talent and someone believes in you, you can achieve great things. Jürgen is the guy to the nth degree who will say, I'm not going to ignore what you can't do, but I'm going to celebrate and exploit what you can do, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to make you the best. In fact, you might think you're this good, which is better than most people think you are. I think you could be even better, and I'm going to make it happen. And if it comes from someone who's done everything, you've got to believe it. Look where we are.
Look where we are, indeed. Listen to Friday night, they're not even playing. How good was that? How good a Friday night was that? You had the Champions League in part 1, you've got Jürgen Klopp in part 2, it's Erdinger, it's Nova Scotia, and by the way, don't forget the best bit. See you later on.